Hello, everyone, and a very good morning. A happy Diwali once again. And I am super excited for today's sessions. The first session, that is this one, is about how I can simplify the process of editing for all of us. And the second session is going to be in the evening at 6 p.m. Indian Standard Time, which is going to be about gray card. And we have a special guest joining us today evening, and that is none other than Dr. Moez Khakiani. So do check out that one as well. Another important announcement that I had to make was our episode with Dr. Moez Khakiani on material choices in prosthodontics is now live and available on our podcast. That is the 32-minute podcast where Dr. Moez and I speak about the different material options available in fixed prosthodontics, ranging from PFM to lithium disilicate to zirconia. We speak more about what is better, monolithic or multi-layered, and a lot of other stuff. The session is really good for all the working dental professionals as well as the dental students who do not have prior knowledge of stuff like what is lithium disilicate, or if you have confusions about what is casting, what is pressing, what is DMLS, what is milling and stuff, you should check out this particular episode about material options on the 32-minute podcast, which is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Podchaser, Stitcher, or any other favorite app of your choice. So welcome once again. Let me start off with today's session. It's going to be about editing. So the first thing that I want to share with all of you all is number one, and the most important thing is, if you have your own DSLR or a dedicated camera for clinical photography, please shoot on RAW files, because that is what I love to shoot on. They are the high resolution files. I do accept that they take up a lot of space in your system, but obviously we can obviously go for hard disk or SSD drives, the solid state drives, and store all our cases out there. Now, why I do recommend shooting on RAW is because of a lot of reasons. One of them is medical legal reasons. Just in case that is an issue and you have to go to court, a RAW file is a great thing to have as an evidence as compared to a JPEG file. The second reason is RAW files are non-destructible files, in the sense, if you do any kind of editing in the RAW files, you can always go back to the original file, which was the non-edited version, which is obviously not possible on a JPEG file unless you make a habit of saving as. And if you do save by mistake, it becomes really difficult, if not impossible, to go to the original version. So RAW files are not destructible. You can always go back to the version which was unedited, and that is why it holds a lot of importance when it comes to medical legal reasons, or even other reasons like your IP, that's your intellectual property rights and stuff like that. So make it a habit to shoot on RAW, because of one more reason, that is, whenever you shoot on RAW and you decide to do a little bit of editing, so the RAW files are great because they do pixel level editing, which is not the case when you do JPEG level editing. So what do you mean by JPEG level editing? So we have softwares like Photoshop which do great editing jobs, especially for JPEG files, but the way in which they do it is they add layer over layer over layer for editing purposes. For example, if I have blemishes on my face, it's great to add a layer over the original layer and then work on the layer and then do additional stuff like adding creative filters and stuff like that. So basically, there is a background layer, and then we keep on adding layers above layers, and that kinds of messes up with the image quality to some extent. But RAW files are not like that. For example, if I want to desaturate or saturate, this kind of editing happens at the pixel level, so it's great to do. It's not a layer based editing, and it works just fine. And another reason why I prefer to recommend RAW, because you have to have, I guess I agree that you have to have special editing softwares, but they are for free. For instance, if I'm a Canon user, I have this software called as DPP, or Digital Photo Professional, which is available for download from Canon websites, and you can use it for free. So you can enter your serial number and then use it for editing purposes. But if you're a Nikon user, you have a couple of softwares like Capture NXD and even View NX2. So you can choose whatever you like. But personally, I am not that comfortable using the Nikon software. So what I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to be emphasizing a lot on raw files and your editing on the raw files, because um, it is really easy to edit the raw files. I'm not saying that editing the JPEG files is difficult, but yes, if you want to use Photoshop and if you want to go to the level of creative editing, you need to have a basic knowledge of what are layers, and all that knowledge is not really required when you are editing a raw file, especially with the company based softwares like Canon DPP or Nikon Capture NXD. Okay, so layer based knowledge is not required. I would not mind saying that editing a raw file has a shorter learning curve as compared to editing a JPEG file on Photoshop. Okay, but nevertheless, if you want to do editing, you can also use simpler softwares. So the softwares that I like for a laptop is Photoscape. I love that. And you can also do basic editing with your Windows software as well as your MacBook software. So they are also pretty great and they do a great job. But if you're asking me for software recommendations on the phone, if you want to do editing on the go, I think there are great softwares as well, great apps as well. For example, you can go for Pixlr, Pixlr, and obviously Snapseed is an awesome software that a lot of my students love to use. So I can see a lot of people have joined us already. Darshan is here, Anup is here. So it's great to see you all, and a happy Diwali once again, because I'm getting a lot of wishes on my chat. So happy Diwali to all of you all. Right, so I've finished with the software recommendations. If I want to summarize, if you want to edit your raw files like CR2 file or CR3 file in Canon, or your Nikon raw files or DNG files or ARW softwares, what you can do is you can go ahead and use your company proprietary softwares like Canon's Digital Photo Professional or Nikon View NXD. Or if you are like me who prefers something much more intuitive, I prefer to use Adobe Bridge for sorting my pictures. And if I want to edit, I usually use Adobe's Camera Raw, which comes as a bundled software in something called as Adobe Creative Cloud. So for people who are unaware of what's going on, Adobe has stopped selling their softwares at a one time, and now it's a subscription based model. So you have to pay every month, and then you get a couple of softwares that you can use. So there are different packages. So you have a photographer's package, you have a creative package. So you can go ahead and go for the basic photographer's package, which will give you access to Adobe Creative Clouds for photographers, which would have Adobe Photoshop, it'll have Adobe Lightroom, it'll have Adobe Bridge, Adobe Camera Raw, and I think a couple of more softwares as well. So what software is great for what in this Adobe's situation? So I personally prefer using Adobe over Canon and Nikon softwares because they are much more intuitive and they are easy to use. So what software for what? The answer to that is, if you want to edit your JPEG files, Photoshop is the best option. Obviously that has been on the forefront since a lot of years. There is no beating that. And if you want to sort your pictures or organize your pictures, you should use Adobe Bridge. And if you want to edit your raw files, I would recommend Adobe Camera Raw. So a lot of people are also very comfortable using Adobe Lightroom. Basically it's the same software, it's just the layout is different, but Adobe Lightroom can organize as well as edit at the same time. which is not possible with Adobe Bridge. So Adobe Bridge is a dedicated software to organize your pictures, to sort your pictures, to make virtual collections, which I'm going to be talking in a few minutes. But Adobe Camera Raw is the one that edits the raw files. So if I give you an example, if I try to open a raw file in Adobe Photoshop, it is going to okay, so I'll go to Photoshop and then open file and then try to open a CR2 file, for instance, which is Canon's raw file. It will obviously again not open on Photoshop. What it will lead to is it will open something called as Adobe's Camera Raw, and you can do your editing out there. So yes, raw files do require you to have a specialized software, but it's great to have it. All right, so let me just quickly show you what all softwares are available, so you get familiar with the system. Okay, so let me first show you what Canon's Digital Photo Professional looks like. So this is the latest version, I believe. This is the Digital Photo Professional version 4, and this is what the layout would look like. And if you want to edit any particular image, you can go to that particular folder and you can select that particular image and then click on edit image, and then you can start editing. So this is the basic layout of Canon's software. I'm not going to be editing anything right now, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to close it for now, and I'm going to show you Adobe Bridge. So this is the software that I prefer to use because it's very nice and simple to use. Again, the navigation and the layout remains the same. You can go to any folder of your choice. For example, I would probably go to this folder and then start editing. So if you want to edit this particular image, which is a .cr2, which is a raw file, you can do a right click or a double tap on your Mac and then go to open in Camera Raw. So that's where it's going to open. So this is if you can see, this is Adobe's Camera Raw. Okay, but what happens if I try to open this in Photoshop? Let us see. Again, it has opened in Adobe's Camera Raw. Once again, this is not Photoshop. All right, so even if you try to open a raw file in Adobe's Photoshop, it is going to redirect you to Adobe's Camera Raw, because Photoshop would look something like this. Let me try and open a raw file out here. So I'll go to open and then I'll go to my desktop and then try to open a raw file over here. So let me see, let's say this one .cr2, and I'll go to hit open. So ideally it should have opened in Photoshop, but Photoshop is incapable of editing a raw file, so it has again opened it in Adobe's Camera Raw, because this is a raw file. Okay, so this is what I love to use. I'm going to be speaking about what all we can edit and how to edit in a while now, but just to make things familiar with the layout, this is Photoshop, and the other one was this is Adobe Bridge, and this is Adobe's Camera Raw. Okay, but if you are a Nikon user, so you have something called as Capture NXD, which has a similar layout as well, but I'm not a really big fan of the software. So this is what Capture NXD would look like. So the layouts are basically same, and you can start editing as soon as you select the picture of your choice, and everything basically just works fine. One thing that you need to keep in mind over here is Nikon software will not be able to open Canon's file, that is the .cr2 file. It will not even show on that particular file. You can see that I've opened this patients folder, but it's showing no images because it is not able to read the raw files from my Canon. It can read the JPEG files, but it cannot read the Canon's raw files. So you have to keep that in mind. It's a very small thing to remember, and I'm sure you'll be able to relate to it. But yeah, this is also a great software for using, and feature wise all the softwares are almost the same. and they do almost all the things they do almost all the things quite similar to each other. So it's a pretty basic software and easy to use. But Adobe Camera Raw has a lot of additional features, which is why I love to do. That is because apart from the routine editing, you can also do quite a lot of creative editing with Adobe's Camera Raw, right? So I'm going to be doing all my editing today in Adobe's Camera Raw. However, if you want to see videos on how to use Canon's Digital Photo Professional, I already have a video on my YouTube channel, and if you want to see how to use Nikon's UNX2, even that video is there on my YouTube channel as well. And I'm going to be uploading a lot more videos, a lot of in-depth tutorials on Canon's DPP and Capture NXD, and I'm going to be releasing it to the subscribers of my podcast. So make sure to subscribe to the 32-minute podcast and the Dental Photography podcast on any podcast directory of your choice, be it Apple, Google, Spotify, or Stitcher. Right, so let us start off with the next thing, and the next topic is about how do we transfer our pictures. All right, so the answer to that is, okay, so I did recommend that you should have cameras which have inbuilt Wi-Fi in it. So what you can do is you can take a picture and it immediately shows up on an Android TV or a smart TV. But please keep in mind that this is not the right way of transferring our files, especially the raw files. That's because it's going to be a thumbnail size image that gets transferred. So my genuine request to all of you is, if you want to transfer your files, you might be having an SD card slot in your laptop, so please make use of it and transfer all your pictures through the SD card into your laptop. And if you are using a PC, you can buy a memory card reader and insert any memory card. And you can also do it by the way of connecting your camera to your laptop or your PC. But I usually do not suggest this particular method of transferring files because it just it's not needed, right? You have to keep the camera also on, and I would probably not want to trust my Windows laptop or PC just in case if it has any Trojan or virus. I just don't want my camera to get hung or screwed up because of that. So the best way to do is remove the memory card from your camera and insert it into your SD card and then transfer your files. And once you transfer the files, now it is time to sort our pictures. So how do we do that? We'll be seeing that now. All right. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do now is sorting my pictures. So I'm just going to show you or make you familiarize with the way I work. So the first thing that I would probably do is go to my sorting software, that is Adobe Bridge. All right, and I go to the software of my choice and I open the folder in which I had stored the pictures. So one thing that I want to specify over here is the way I work is I make individual folders of all the patient names or the patient IDs which you might have, and make an individual folder for that particular patient on your clinic's system. So now you can see that I have opened a folder that belongs to my mom, in which Dr. Moyes and I had worked on a full mouth rehab, and we had done a lot of Emax crowns. And why we did Emax crowns, the reason for that is in today's podcast episode, so do check it out. So the first thing that I want is, I'm really confused with all these images in front of me. So the first thing that I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be streamlining. I'm not really a big fan of seeing a lot of thumbnails on my screen. I would prefer to see less number of images because that will help me focus a lot. Another reason why you should streamline the pictures and select the best pictures is, suppose if I have randomly selected any picture, say image number 97, and I edited it and I exported it and I put it in my presentation for my lecture tomorrow. But then after doing all that, I realized that there is one more image, say image number 101, which is way better than image number 97. So that should ideally not happen, because you should have actually taken an effort to see all the pictures first and then select what is the best for you to edit and present for your presentations or publications in that particular matter. So the first thing to do is narrow down, out of the 300 or 400 odd pictures that you might have taken, narrow down the top, say 100 or 50 pictures of your choice. Make sure that you have one picture of each particular view, the best picture in that particular view, and then you're sure that you're going to be editing that particular picture only. So one of the reasons, one of the ways of great ways of sorting pictures is by using a filter. So you can see there's an option called filter on the left hand side. Let me kind of maximize it for you so it'll become easy for you to see. I'll stop my camera and I'll put it on a full screen completely. Right. the stream. Are you able to listen to me now? I made a mistake while sharing the... Okay, I took myself out, so that means the mic also gets muted. I was not aware of that. Cool. So let me go back to my editing part once again, and I have to hurry up because we are already 30 minutes into the session. Can I get a heads up if you can hear me clearly now? Guys, and if I'm loud and clear, just take a sip of green tea now. Hi, Dr. Varghese from Kerala. So who all are here? Who all are here to listen to me? I can see quite a lot of names. We have Dr. Varghese, who has joined us from Kerala. Dr. Raid is there. He's been following me since quite some time. And Dr. Tahir, I'm sorry, I did not realize that I got muted. But I could not see the comments as well. I'm really sorry because I was on another window, so I could not practically see your comments. I'm really sorry for that. And we also have Sneha. Hi, nice to meet you. And we also have a very interesting person, a VVIP dentist from Mumbai, Dr. Akhil Reshamwala. Nice to have you in the live session today. So people who don't know Dr. Akhil, he's one of the most famous prosthodontists in the country, does awesome full mouth rehabilitation cases and a lot of aesthetic cases, and he is a great teacher as well, practicing in Navi Mumbai. It's Vashi. Awesome clinic. Nice to have you on the show, sir. We also have Nalini Kumar. So great. So I think I am pretty cool to go now. So I'll just start editing once again. So we have my dear friend Dheeraj, who has also joined us. So Dheeraj and his team did an awesome job with Byte-in, wherein they conducted conference called Digident, which had awesome speakers, and I was also one of the privileged speakers. So thanks for inviting me over, Dheeraj. All right, so I'm just going to go back and I'm going to redo the entire process that I had done, and I'm basically going to zero out on the ratings. Just give me a moment. Just going to redo the whole thing so you would not miss out on anything. All right. Okay, so the first thing that I did was I applied a filter that is I want to see only the file type. Okay, so right now if I do not select on any filter, it's going to be showing me a lot of images. All right, so you can see I have close to 100 pictures maybe, or maybe 50 pictures. So that's kind of confusing for a beginner to start off with. It becomes really difficult to work under such situations wherein you have a lot of images seen on your screen. So the first thing that I do is I apply my filter. So I go to filter and then I go to file type and I select a camera raw image. So what that does is that would remove all the JPEG files. Why I'm doing this is because I just want to narrow down on the image that I am planning to edit, and like I said, I edit only the raw files, so I selected only file type as camera raw. So now you can see when both camera raw and JPEG files were seen, there were more than 100 pictures, that is 57 raw files and 72 JPEG files. But once I put the filter on and I select camera raw, I'm able to see only 57 pictures, and now my job is to select what are the best pictures for me to edit. So I just hit the space bar if you're on Adobe Bridge, and then start viewing all the pictures on full screen so that you can see all the minor mistakes. But in this case, I think I like this particular image, so I think I'm going to go ahead and give it a 4-star rating, and then I'll proceed. So the first thing is how do I give a 4-star rating? If you want to give any rating, say 1 star, 2 star, 3 star, 4 star or 5 star, you can hit on the corresponding number. So if I want to give a 4-star rating to say this particular image, I just hit on number 4 on my laptop, and that's how it works. Now I'm going to be selecting the lateral view, so I'm going to be doing a 4-star over here as well, and then I see if I have the other side also that is well recorded. So I'm pretty happy with this one, so I'll give it a 4-star rating. Now I'm going to go to molar relationship. I think this one is a better image. I'm sure you all would agree as compared to this image wherein my retraction was poor. And then I move on to the next side. So in the next side also I have 2 images, one this one and one this one. That's image number 87 and 88. So which one is looking better? Both of them are almost the same, but I think I like this one more. That's 87 because the contralateral central is seen and nothing more than that. But over here a little bit of contralateral lateral is also seen. So I would prefer to use image number 87, giving it a 4-star boom. And then I go to Incisal Guidance or Anterior Guidance, and I probably select one image out of these two, and I think I'm going to be going ahead and selecting 4-star over here and proceed to the next one. So this is the canine guidances images. So basically I'm just seeing all the images which I plan to use in my documentation process. So I think I'm happy with this one, so hit on a 4-star. And then that's cool. Even this one is great. And then I move on to the anterior aesthetic views. So I like this one, so directly a 4-star. This one is good, so 4-star once again. Now this one is out of focus, so I think I'll have to look out for some other image as well. So I'll go to maybe this one, give it a 4-star, give it a 4-star once again. So what I'm saying is be a little cautious while selecting pictures like these. Why? Because this is a very tight crop image, and if I want to do cropping and rotation in this particular situation, it might lead to cutting off of one of the two. So you can see on the left hand side I have canine, which is cut to cut, and on the right hand side I have my contralateral central, which is cut to cut. This is exactly what is supposed to be seen in this picture, but in case if I want to crop it or rotate it by a degree or two, also it's going to lead to the canine getting cut or the contralateral central getting cut, which would then not be classified as a good image. So always choose images which have quite a lot of space on both the sides, which you have to keep in mind while recording the pictures itself. And then while choosing the pictures, choose a picture which has a good amount of space on either sides and even on top and bottom, so you can use that space for editing your picture. So as compared to this one, I think I'm going to go ahead with this one. Now what has happened is there's a sudden shift in colors, so you can appreciate that the color has changed. Why this has happened is this one was using a ring flash. You can see the catch lights out here on the canine. You can make out that it has been shot with a ring flash, but the moment I go to a twin flash, I can now see two catch lights on the teeth, and even the color change is quite obvious. So different flashes are going to give you different results because they have different outputs as well as different diffusions. So obviously I cannot select any of these pictures like right now, because suddenly I cannot shift to from a ring flash to a twin flash. So either I have to use all the twin flash pictures or I have to shift completely to a ring flash. So let me just select a couple of twin flash pictures as well. In this particular image, I think I'll go ahead with this one and this one because it has more space as compared to the previous ones, and a couple of pre-operative pictures as well. So now you can see that we have 57 images in camera raw, but look on the top, you have ratings by star ratings. So there are 111 pictures which do not have any rating, but I have selected 18 pictures which are worth editing. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to narrow down from 57 camera raw images to 11 raw files. And now it has become a much more simpler process for me to be sure that I have selected the right images for post-processing. Since they are in 4-star, that means they are not the ultimate images. So now I'm going to go through these 18 images and select my final files for editing. So maximum intercuspation, just one image, that means that was final. So I'm going to convert that 4-star to a 5-star by hitting on the 5 number. I think even these images are quite good, so I'll finalize them by giving it 5-star ratings. Molar relations are also quite good, so I'm just going to hit and give it a 5-star rating by pressing the number 5. I'm not planning to do anterior guidance, canine guidance for this, so I directly jump over to anterior aesthetic shots right now, and for that I think I would use the ring flash images in this particular case. Alright, so I am pretty happy with this one, so I'll make it a 5-star. I believe this is the first quadrant. I think this is a better image than the previous one. So now what has happened is I have two 5-star images of the same view. What I can do is, so I have 4008 file which has 5 stars, and 4010, that's the file number, which has 5 stars as well. What I can do is remove the banner so you can see it more clearly. Okay, so now you might be able to see the image numbers as well. So you can see 4008 is 5-star and 4010 also is a 5-star image, and both of them are the same view. So now I'm going to be selecting which one is a better image for me. I think I'm going to go ahead with 4010 and convert and let this be on 5-star, and then 4008 I'll again make it into a 4-star or probably just 0-star so that it is not selected at all. Okay, so since I'm not going to be using twin flash pictures right now, so I'm just going to be hitting 0 on this one and 0 on this one once again. These both are pretty fine, so I'm just going to make them 5 stars. So out of the 18 pictures that I had selected, I have okay, so by mistake I gave this one a 1 star. My finger just hit that one. So you can see now that out of the 18 pictures that I had selected or rounded off, I have 4-star ratings, 6 images which I'm not going to be using, and I have 9 images of 5-star rating which I will be using. In fact, I'll be using more of the 5-star. In anterior aesthetic I have only the first quadrant, so I'm going to go and select the second quadrant and make it as 5-star, and the frontal image also as a 5-star image. So now I have 5-star images that are 11, and these are the final images that I want to edit. Alright guys, so I hope you are with me and you are able to understand what I'm doing. So what I'm going to be doing next is I'm going to be selecting all the images by hitting Ctrl A, and I'm going to go on this option which looks like an aperture. It is called Open in Camera Raw. So now I have all the images open in Camera Raw, and I can start editing according to however I want. So what are the editings that are needed? Over here it requires a rotation, so you have options for that. Simple rotate, you can rotate it clockwise or counterclockwise according to however you wish. And first thing that you need to do is orient all the images correctly. So even this one is upside down, so I'm just going to rotate it twice clockwise or counterclockwise and orient all the pictures correctly. So this is a maxillary full arch image, so the orientation is correct, but the mandibular full arch image has to be pointing downwards, so we're going to be making these changes. Once I am through with all these, I do start editing my picture. So what are the things that you can edit in your particular cases? Okay, so you need to confirm what you can edit with your accreditation association. For example, if I want to go ahead for an anterior aesthetic accreditation, I'm going to be going ahead and asking AACD if they are going to be allowing me to increase or decrease the brightness or do cropping and rotation. So just confirm once where you're going to be submitting your pictures and get an approval from them if they are completely fine with your editing. Sometimes they don't allow. If that's the case, you cannot edit your pictures, but do be very sure about what you're planning to do and what you're allowed to do as well. So I think I'm pretty happy with the image exposure over here in almost all the pictures, which is looking quite uniform except for this one. So if I want to increase the brightness, I'm going to be increasing it from this particular slider. But this became a little bit too much. Instead of using the slider, you can put the numbers also on the box that is seen on the top right hand side. This one is looking fine, and all these images are looking great for exposure, at least except the last two pictures. I think I need a little bit of exposure increase in this one, so I've increased the exposure by plus 1.2 and it is looking fine now, and I'm going to be increasing the exposure of this one also by 1.2. So instead of using a slider, I'm going to be putting the numbers directly. But if you see, what has happened is, although I've increased the exposure uniformly in both of them, one of them is looking bright and one of them is looking dark. So it does not mean that although you're going to enter the numbers physically, but sometimes it does not really help us. So using the slider is a great option as well. Alright, so I think I'm going to be increasing the brightness over here a little bit, that is, say, to the rate of 0.4, maybe 0.4 stops, and I'm pretty happy with it. Now I start off with removing whatever is not required, so I'm going to be going ahead and cropping my pictures. Now, one thing that you need to always remember is that if you are doing cropping, you need to lock your aspect ratios so that all the images look similar with respect to the dimensions. Alright, so let me just put my laptop on charging. I hope it charges. Okay, right, so I'm just gonna go ahead and lock the aspect ratio at say 9:16, which is a more wide angle-ish view, and I'm just going to drag and drop the pointer and the mouse. Just keep in mind that your arch form should be in the center. Once you've selected, just hit on enter and you are good to go. Again, if you want to do cropping, do a long press and select 9:16 and you are good to do the cropping. So these are some basic editings that you might be allowed to do. If you want to rotate a bit, you can go outside the selection and then rotate it in any directions like I just did. So how do you rotate? I'll just show it once more. You can go outside the selected box and rotate the rectangle like this. So I'm pretty happy with this. I need to rotate, maybe make this a little smaller, and I'm pretty happy with it. Now I'm going to be going to, yeah, I'm just going to make this a little bit smaller, but my aspect ratio does not seem to be locked, so I'm going to be selecting 9:16 again, and I'm going to be cropping it. Make sure that you have adequate amount of negative space in front of the subject, which is the black color space in this particular situation. I need to cross check if my aspect ratio was locked over here or not. You can see it wasn't locked, so it's good that I saw it. Otherwise my rectangles would not be of the same size. So always do a cross checking if your aspect ratio was locked while you edited those pictures. That's how I'm going to be editing the pictures, and this is all you can do for clinical photography. Maybe a little bit of increase in brightness and a little bit of cropping and rotation, but nothing more than that. Your target has to be cropping or rotating your pictures in a manner that the teeth size look the same in all the images, and that's going to be happening only and only if you are using a macro lens, because you need to record it properly at the first place, and only then you can do a decent job with editing your pictures. So I'm just going to be keeping it till the distal of the canine, and I'm pretty happy with it. While cropping, I have to keep in mind how much space is there on the incisal side in the frontal view. So in this case, I think I have around maybe 1 centimeter space, and I try to reproduce that in my lateral shots. Right, so I'm just going to go ahead and rotate it a little bit more and give it a less amount of space in the incisal direction. You can see the thumbnail changes as well, so try to match the thumbnails. So a thumbnail is a great guideline for good cropping of your images. Alright, so I'm pretty happy with this, and I'm going to be keeping this one till the distal of the canine, not more than that. So you have to basically by heart, it's called as news, north, east, west and south. If people had attended my session during the lockdown, I specifically emphasized a lot on the news. Means how much of the area you're cropping from east, west, north and south. You have to by heart that, and you have to use that particular ratio of cropping in all your pictures. This one is more of a squarish image, so you can select 3x4 or 2x3 and then do the cropping and remove the mirrors or cheek retractors if they are there in your pictures. You can do a little bit of rotation if that is required. So I think it is required in this particular situation, so I am going to be rotating it. Okay, there's no hurry, you can take your time and do your rotations, but this is my final image. Do not spend a lot of time in this basic editing because we have quite a lot of other things to do. So I'm hitting on enter and I'm pretty happy with it, and I am going to select all and I'm going to save the images. Now is the most important thing. So I'm going to be calling this FMR. So it's going to name the pictures, all the pictures, one after the other. So you can see that in the example I have put FMR and then I've selected 1-digit serial number. Okay, so my first file will be called FMR number 1, and the successive files would be FMR 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, then I have to select the file type. So if I want to do presentation or stuff like that, I'm going to be selecting a JPEG file format. I'm going to be selecting the quality. If I want low quality or high quality, I'm just going to select maybe medium or high for now, because I don't want the file size to be very heavy. Then I have to resize. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, most of my pictures are horizontal, so I'm going to be keeping one of the sides constant, either the vertical side constant or the horizontal side constant. You can choose whatever you like. So in this particular case, I want the vertical side to be decided by myself. So I'm going to be selecting the short side. The short side is my vertical side, and I'm going to be telling my software that keep the short side, that is the vertical side, of 1000 pixels. So every image is going to be having a height, that's the vertical side, as 1000, and a resolution of 100 is more than enough for our presentations. In fact, a resolution of 72 is also enough, but 100 is pretty decent. And then you can export all your pictures. So now all my pictures are going to get exported, and all of their heights is going to be the same, that is 1000 pixels. Right, so I'm just going to go and hit on so save, and I've selected the desktop as my destination folder. So you can see it is now converting all the pictures from RAW to JPEG, and we are almost done. So I'm just going to hit on done, and these are my edited pictures on the desktop. Let's have a look at them. So it is looking pretty decent on the desktop. Okay, so just imagine that while editing you made a mistake in, say, this particular image, because this does not look quite rotated as much. So I'm going to go to open in Camera Raw once again, and if I want to do a rotation, I am going to go on rotate it again, and I'm going to rotate it according to my convenience. And if I want, I can save this image as well. But what if I wanted to go to how the image was initially when I started off? So you have an option on the right hand side called as Camera Raw Defaults. So it's going to change the image as it was when you started off, and you have to go to clear crop option as well. So this is how I had started off in the first place. So this is what I mean by your raw files are non-destructible files, because when you are saving it, it actually gets saved as a copy. You cannot destroy your raw files. You can just convert it to a JPEG file or a TIFF file if you want to get printed, and then you can use that file, but the raw files will always remain, and you can always go back to the starting point. And that is why shooting on raw is so very important for all of us. One more reason that I would probably want to share why you should shoot on raw is because of this. You can see on the right hand side that is a white balance. We have an option called as white balance as shot. Maybe if you did a mistake while shooting and your white balance was off target while shooting itself, okay, maybe you can still change it in post processing after coming over here. So you can still change it to daylight white balance, you can still change it to flash white balance, you can still change it to whatever white balance of your choice. Okay, so a raw file is a very forgiving file format, in the sense if you make mistakes in camera settings while shooting, it is going to forgive you, because you can change the white balance even after coming in the editing part. Apart from white balance, you can also change an array of other things, like you can change your picture style as well. So that is why shooting raw files is quite a sensible thing to do. But yes, you have to pay off by buying external hard disk, because these files are extremely very heavy. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to desktop and show you the pictures, the ones that we have edited. So this is, you can see that the vertical height is going to be 1000. So almost all the pictures are going to be of this dimension when I show it to all of you. So you can see all the pictures are the same dimension, the rectangle is of the same dimension, the height of the rectangle is the same dimension. So all the images will look the same, except for the full arch occlusal pictures, because they have been cropped at an aspect ratio of 3:4. So you can see it's looking pretty good, and it's ready to be inserted on my presentation. All right, cool. So what I'm going to be doing next is I want to streamline everything a little bit more. So just consider that I am a prosthodontist, which I am actually not, but I want to make, say, I want to make a collection of all the full mouth cases that I might have done. Okay, so if you are a person who is a speaker or stuff like that, or who likes to show to your patients your previous cases, and it becomes really difficult for you to keep a track of what particular case was kept at what particular folder location. So there is one way out. There's something called as making a virtual collection for yourself. How that works is you go to the software of your choice and make a virtual collection. For example, if I want to make a collection of all my FMR cases, that's all my full mouth rehabilitation cases, I'll go to the software, go to collection and add a new collection and put all the FMR cases in that particular collection. So what is a collection? Basically, collection is a virtual kind of a folder that your software makes for you, and you can put all the FMR cases in different locations of your laptop and put it in that collections folder. Suppose if I want to show it to one of my patients, or if I want to show it to one of my colleagues, all my FMR cases, I don't have to go to different folders. I just go to my software and go to the collections filter or the collections tab, and then show all my FMR cases that I have done. So let's just have a look at how to make a collections to make our lives very easy and simple. All right, so you can see on the left hand side that I have two options called filter tab and collections tab. Right now there are no collections whatsoever, so I'm going to go and hit on new collection. So I'm going to be calling this as FMR. So I have FMR in, that's my first collection. Okay, and I now want to put all the FMR pictures in this particular collection. Okay, how do we do that? Just select all the pictures that you want to put it in this particular collection. All right, you don't want these two, and just drag and drop them on the FMR. So first you saw that FMR had one file only, but now it has 8 files, and now I'm going to be putting 3 more, so that's going to be taking you to 11 files. Okay, but this is all on the desktop, but what does collection actually do is I can go to any other folder of my choice. Let me just go to a random folder, and if I want I can put this image also in FMR, and let me go to any other random folder once again. So let's just say I am going to go to say this particular image, and say this is a FMR picture. I'm just going to drag and drop it to an FMR, or maybe you can name your folder as brochures, you can name your folder as anterior aesthetics, you can name it whatever you like. Alright, so I'm going to go to another folder now, and I'm going to be selecting any one picture from here and putting it in the FMR. Alright, so now I just go to desktop, and suppose if I have one of my friends coming over and he's like, hey, just show me all the FMR cases that I have done. So I don't have to keep on struggling and go to individual folders. I just have to go to collections tab and hit on FMR folder. It's a virtual folder, and show him all the pictures that I have done in FMR cases. So you can make n number of collections for yourself, and also remove any pictures from those folders if you want, and you can put it in some other folder as well. So I've removed 2 pictures. I'm going to be removing one more picture. Remove from collection, and you can see we are back to what. So you can put or remove any particular image on that particular collection. Please remember that all these collections are virtual collections, they are not actual collections. So what this basically does is it just remembers what file is at what particular location. So if you want to open and refer them at any time, just makes the process so much more simple for all of us. Okay, so we have learned about filters, we have learned about collections, and we also saw how we are going to be editing our pictures. Okay, so that is about editing raw files. Now what I'm planning to do is I want to make a collage of my particular case. So I would highly recommend all of you to go ahead and download this free software called as Photoscape. For Mac users it's called Photoscape X. I think it's there even for Windows users. So you can just go to any website, just Google Photoscape and download this software for yourself. I can also recommend a website for this particular purpose. I'll just put it in the banners, and you can go to this one. Okay, so you can go to this particular website. It's called filehippo.com, where there are a lot of softwares that are available for you to see. So Prakash Patil is asking me what is the software for making collections. So Prakash, this option is there in any software that is a proprietary software. So if you're a Canon user, it'll be there in your Canon software. It'll also be there in your Nikon software. In fact, it has a lot of other things as well. It has something called as labels also. So you can find it out in any software of your choice. Now I'm going to be showing you how I'm going to be making a collage. Okay, so I hope you can see my screen. Please go ahead and download this software called as Photoscape X from the website that I had recommended, that is filehippo.com, or maybe you can just go to any website of your choice and just download this software for free. It's called Photoscape X for Mac, and it's also there for Photoscape Windows. And now I go to an option called as Combine. So what I'm going to do is just drag and drop the pictures, and it is going to help you make a collage. So the first thing that I'm going to be dragging out here is this one, and then maybe a maximum intercuspation, and then the molar relation of the other side. Okay, it's looking cool, but I do not want outer margin, so I'm just going to remove it from the top right hand side. And I do not want spacing in between my pictures also, and I do not want roundness of my pictures at all. So this is what my collage is going to look. It is at this particular point of time that you have to decide if you want to do editing or not. So if you actually see the images on the left and right hand side, that is the molar relations are looking almost perfect, but my maximum intercuspation position shot is looking quite dark as compared to my molar relations. So I have to go back to my editing software, select that particular image, and go to editing the raw image, and I'm going to be increasing the exposure out here. Also, the teeth size were looking quite smaller as compared to the molar relations. So I'm just going to be going ahead and cropping it a little bit more and try to get my teeth of a slightly bigger size if I can. So I think I can. Now, since I'm cropping it a little bit more, the teeth are obviously going to look a little bit more bigger right now. Maybe I'll have to rotate it a bit to make it straight, and I am pretty happy with this. I'm going to be saving this image once again, and I'm just calling it one copy, and I will save it on the desktop, and I'll go to the desktop once again. Now I move ahead to my photoscape once again, and I'm going to go and remove that particular image, and I'm going to be taking the copy file. So this is the version that was the second version. If you want to compare it with the first version, this was my first version. You can see that it was really dark. I increased the exposure, and the tooth size has also increased. It is now comparable to the adjacent molar relation shots. Alright, so I'm just going to remove the previous version once again. Now the teeth size are almost the same, but my molar relations are slightly bigger, but I cannot crop my maximum intercuspation shot any more, because if I do that, I'm going to be cropping off my sevens from all the quadrants. So now I have no option left but to go to my molar relation shots and make them slightly less cropped, so that the tooth size is a little bit smaller than what it is right now. Once they look the same is the time you can export this particular collage. Right, so right now I'm just going to go ahead and export this collage, and I'm going to go to save, and I'm going to say MIP, and I'm going to save it on my desktop. It is asking me my image quality, and boom, that's it, done. And I have it ready to be put on any presentation, and it looks pretty neat. Why it's looking great is because the height of all the pictures are the same, and the rectangles are of the same dimension. So you need to keep that in mind always while cropping or before cropping. I'm going to be making another collage of anterior aesthetic shots. Again, really very simple. I just drag and drop all the anterior aesthetic shots that I have, and then I play with it. I can get this image come on this side, I can get this image come on the other side, I can do whatever I want, and then I'm going to go to image save, and I'm going to be hitting on the save icon, and the collage is ready. It hardly takes any time. Okay, so this is the final collage that I made, and it looks pretty decent. I'm ready to upload it on the social media, except for one thing that is needed, that is watermarking your images. So Photoscape or Photoscape X is great for that as well. So instead of combine option, just go to editor option and select the collage of your choice. So before you put anything on social media, just make it a point to watermark your images with your name or your clinic logo. So let me just insert, go to insert option and select T for text, and you can put your website like www. You can just go to the text option, select www.sentinelschool.in. You can change the color also if you want. I will probably choose a less harsh color, and I'm going to be reducing the opacity of this. I'm going to be reducing the font size of this as well, and I'm going to be putting it right in the center of my collage. And if I want to redo it and or add any other name, say Dr. Mayur Davda, I'm going to be doing that. So I've written Mayur Davda, is just not opaque enough. Your watermark has to be very faint to be seen. In fact, it should be such that people cannot see, so that if they download it, they don't know that your name is there. But what if I want to put my logo, my clinic's logo? So instead of T for text, I'm going to go to image, and I can select any image of my choice that I want to use as a watermark. So I'm just going to go to, say, the logo of my 32-minute podcast, and I'm going to be selecting my folder called as logo, and I'm going to be selecting any logo of my choice, and I'm going to be making it less opaque or more opaque if I want it, whether I want it or not. I'm just going to keep it in one of the corners and make it small in size, and I'm going to drag it to one particular corner. Okay, so this is looking pretty cool now. If you want to add more logos, you can, but I'm pretty happy with it. So I'm just going to go to save, and I'm going to be saving this particular image as another file. So I'm just going to go to save as, and then say anterior aesthetic 1, and I'm going to save it in the downloads folder, or I can save it on the desktop as well. So you can change the location over here and select desktop, and you can save it over there as well. Okay, the name is still there, so it's going to show that particular file to all of you. This is the non collage, this is the non watermark version, and I am going to be, okay, this is, I have to save it again, I think. So I have to select desktop and save. I'm closing Photoscape over here now, and here it is. So you have my Dental Photography School's watermark, which is quite faint, my name and my logo. It is not necessary that you reduce the opacity of your logo. I just did it just to show you that it's possible as well, but you can add any logo of your choice. Alright, so we've finished the basic editing. We've finished how to make a collage as well in a very short time, and now I move on to the fancy stuff, that is how to do a color splash. So have you seen pictures in which one part of your image is black and white and the other part is color? It looks pretty great, pretty glamorous. Have you ever thought how to do it? So there are a lot of ways of doing it, and the easiest way to do that is on an app in your phones. You can do it on Snapseed or any other app of your choice. I think Snapseed is good. But you can also do it in a raw file. So on the phone, if you want to do it, it has to be a JPEG file. There's no doubt about it, because phone will not be able to handle a raw file. If you want to get that effect using a raw file, I'm going to be showing you how to do that using Adobe's Camera Raw, and then one more technique in which you can do the same thing using Photoshop. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to be adding my screen, and let's just go to Adobe Bridge. I'm going to go to my desktop and select any one file that I want to work with. So let's just say that I want to work with this particular file, and I'm going to do the selective color thing. So let's just say that I want this particular flower to be colored and the entire face to be black and white. So how do we do that? There are various ways of doing that. Number one is just select the adjustment brush and go to saturation and just put it -100, make sure that you do not feather. That means your brush is very hard and flow and density is at the maximum. So basically I'm telling my brush that wherever I use you, remove the color from there, because I have selected saturation as -100, if you can see. Once I have done all the necessary things, in the sense saturation to -100, and I want a hard brush for this, so feather is 0 and flow and density is at maximum, say 100. So it's going to apply the changes very harshly and immediately. I'm going to increase my brush size by increasing by pressing on the close bracket key on your laptop, and I'm going to be hitting on my mouse pointer, and I'm going to be start applying it on the face. So the yellow color thing is where all my effect is happening. Okay, once I finish doing this, I am going to show it to you in black and white. So basically just select the area that you want to make it black and white, do it roughly first, and this is what it's going to look like. Okay, so what you can do next is you can zoom in on the parts which are still very difficult, in the sense you should blow up the image to say 200% or 300%, and then do the fine tuning, but just do the rough tuning initially. And if you want to do the fine tuning, you can increase the size to at least 200%. Select the brush again and start using the brush wherever you want it. As simple as that. Very easy to do it on your raw file. If you want to apply one more layer, you can. Once again, if you want to move around like this, you can select the hand icon, reduce the brush size so that you don't spill it over on the flower. You have to be a little careful while doing this so that you don't do an untoward desaturation at the wrong place. Okay, I'm just going to go and move this even further and keep on applying it. So I'm not going to try and make it perfect. This is I just wanted to show you how it's done, and that's how it works. I'm just doing it just quickly, but if you want to make it perfect, you need to spend some amount of time with it, because this is a raw file. This is the only great way of doing it, using an adjustment brush. There are other ways of doing it as well. So let me just fit the image in the view for all of you, so you can see that the full face has become black, but the color of the flower has still been maintained. So this is one technique of doing it. Let me just go to camera raw defaults and restore whatever I've done. There is another way of doing it, that is called as reducing the oranges and individual colors. So you have hue and saturation over here, so we are planning to reduce the saturation right now. So what I'm going to do is just go to any color that I want to desaturate. So this is called as the targeted adjustment tool. Just select the targeted adjustment tool by doing a long press. You have to do select saturation and go to any particular color that you want to remove. Say you want to remove orange color, so just select over there and press the down arrow and just go down with your mouse pointer. So wherever there is orange color, it's going to reduce that. But you also noted that maybe the flower also had a little bit of orange in it, so it has become a little bit desaturated. If I want to increase the reds, I'll just select that red color and go up like this. So over here the lips have become red and the flower is also red, and this is one way of possibly trying to save your time, because you don't have to be very perfect with your brush. But again, if you want to do fine adjustment, you can go to adjustment brush and you can start painting over this also, in case you want to do that. So in this particular case, I have kept the lips and flower both as red, and you can apply the adjustment brush wherever you want. Okay, so the teeth are looking ugly, so I'm just going to make the teeth also fully black and white, because the gums were looking colored, obviously because the gums have a lot of red in it and orange as well. So you can apply the brush wherever you like. Okay, so this is one way of doing it. There is one more way of doing it. So I'm just going to go to restore to camera defaults, and now I'm going to be selecting the gradient filter. So I go to gradient filter, and you can see I have selected desaturation to -100. So I'm just going to select the area where I want this result to apply. So I want this whole part to be full black and white, right? So I'm just going to go and select this particular area. It has become full black and white. If I want one more, I can select this particular area and make it full black and white. So this kind of reduces a lot of time, because it's very simple to apply. And if you want to again fine tune it, just select the adjustment brush, and you can do the fine tuning very easily using the adjustment brush on -100 saturation. Keep in mind, we are using a raw file, so this is not Photoshop, and each and every pixel is getting converted. And if you want to do even more fine tuning, I would obviously advise you to go to at least 300 or 200% and do fine tuning using your adjustment brush if you want to need it. That obviously depends upon the use. So if I just want to use this as a thumbnail and it's going to look very small, then suppose if I want to use it as a thumbnail, I don't have to be really particular about being really very perfect, because it's not going to be seen. But if you're going to get it printed, or if you're going to make a big print and hang it on your clinic, you need to spend some time with it, and then you have to do your editing process quite patiently. So right now, I think this is good enough for putting it on social media as well, for thumbnail as well. But if I want to do a print, I'll probably zoom into 400% and check where all the adjustment brush was needed anymore. So I'm just going to go to save image, and I'm going to select this as, I'm going to rename this as color splash 1, and I'm going to be color splash, that's it, and I'm going to be saving it on the desktop, and I am quite done. Also, one more thing I'll do is, I'm just going to go to camera raw defaults, and I'm going to undo whatever thing that I had done, and even save a copy of this as well on my desktop. So now I have two pictures. One is the color splash one, which looks something like this, all right, and the normal one, which would look which looks something like this. Let's just let me show it to you on a big screen like this. So this is the black and white, and this is the color version. Okay, that's how we use color splash on the raw file. And now let me show this on Photoshop. So let me select some other image for this purpose. Let me just go to Photoshop, and okay, so we already have an image of a dog. So just say that I'm not happy with the blue color. So what I'm going to do is, or maybe I want a transparent background also. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, I'm going to go to Photoshop Creative Cloud, and I'm going to select the quick selection tool. So you have two options here, quick selection and magic wand. I'm just going to go to quick selection tool. I'm just going to zoom in a little so you can see what I'm doing. I'm just going to start just brushing it on the dog's face. So this is a beagle. It's my favorite dog. I love beagles, absolutely love beagles. And what it's going to do is, it's going to select the dog for me. So I have selected the dog. So what I'm going to do next is, I'm going to do Control J, means it's going to make a copy of my selection. So you can see, if I want a transparent background, if I just remove the background layer, you can see it has perfectly selected my dog, and I can get a dog in the transparent background. Okay, if I'm not happy with the selection, I can always go to that particular layer number and do the selection once again. But a very simple process of selecting using a quick selection tool, which is there in Photoshop. And that's how we do it. Okay, so I think I've done a better selection now, but if I zoom in this particular area, it's not looking that great. So I'm just going to go to option or alt in in your Windows. So if you want to delete a particular part of the selection, press Alt in your Windows or press Option in your Mac, and then I'm going to make a duplicate layer of the dog, which is looking pretty cool now. If I want, I can just save this as a transparent file. If I want, I can desaturate the background as well. So right now I just made a copy of the dog's face. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to be making this bottom layer. So basically how Photoshop works is by layers. So you can see I have two layers. There's a layer 0 and layer 1 on top. So basically layer 1 is on top and even the bottom layer is seen. So my dog on top, that's layer 1, that's a transparent layer with the background that is transparent, I mean. But through that my layer 0 is seen because my layer 0 has a blue background. So basically if I want to make the background as black and white, I'm going to be selecting that particular layer. I'm going to go to image adjustments and hue and saturation, and I'm going to make the saturation to -100. So you can see now my background has become monochromatic or gray in color. Alright, so that's how you do it on Photoshop. There are various ways to do this even on Photoshop, but this is one of the ways. If you're a beginner, I think you should start off with simpler images like this one, but if you have complicated images, I would recommend that you start off and spend a lot of time before applying these changes. So over here I have a little bit more complicated situation wherein I have the lips with jewelry, and I want the skin to kind of look black and white. So that's possible in RAW, but in Photoshop as well. So I've made another layer once again, and if I want to make any changes, I can definitely go to layer 0 and go to adjustments. I'm going to go to hue and saturation and make it black and white once again. Alright, so my lower image is a black and white image and my top one is a colored image. Okay, so you can see there are a couple of places in my top image, that is layer 1, which are having color in it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just increase the size so I'm a little bit more accurate with whatever I'm doing, and I can remove the excess color from there as well. So you can use your quick selection tool, and then you can erase the layer on top. So what I'm basically doing is I've selected the eraser option, eraser tool, and I'm erasing the layer 1. I've selected layer 1 and I'm erasing what all is not required. So whatever is behind that layer 1, that is the layer 0, will be seen from there. It's a very simple trick that anybody can use in day-to-day practice. So you can see a little bit of color here as well. So I'm going to be making my brush size smaller, and I'm going to be erasing this part of my layer 1, which is the layer on top, and it's looking pretty good now. Maybe a little bit over here and a little bit over here. So if you want to be accurate, you have to work at high magnification. Just like in the industry, working with a microscope is going to give you a better result. Over here also, if you zoom in, it is going to give you a better result after quick selection tool. Alright, so if I want to see the actual view, it's going to be looking like so. This is the actual size of my image. If I want to edit it more also, I can, like this, using the eraser tool. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with it. Once I'm done, I'm going to go to file and I'm going to be saving it as whatever I want. So I'm just going to say say A, and I'm going to be selecting the file as a JPEG file or a PNG file. PNG file is better for putting it on social media. So I'm just going to go on save, and I'm going to be hitting it on save. So I've already saved this particular file. And now I'm going to be exporting my dog's image as well. Go to file. I'm going to be doing export. Quick export as PNG is also good. So this is going to be the dog's picture in gray background, and now it's going to be, I removed the layer 0, so now it'll be dog's image with a transparent background. So I'm just going to rename this as Ernie as transparent, and I'm going to save as a PNG file. So keep in mind, if you want transparent backgrounds, you have to save your image as a PNG file always. Okay, so just in case, I want to show you something over here. Now I'm just going to go to Photoscape and I'm going to be hitting on editor, and if I have a collage, I can insert a PNG file also on that. And okay, so where is my collage? It's over here. Just going to go to insert image, and I'm going to go to desktop, and I'm going to select the beagle and open it. So you can see, instead of your logo, you can also put a beagle on any of your pictures, and it's going to look something like this. All right, so it's pretty simple to do a color splash in many ways. One more additional thing that you learned was how to get a transparent background as well, just by the process of doing a color splash. I can save this image by whatever name that I want to, and say whatever name, GKY, and save it on the desktop. I'm going to close Photoscape, and I'm going to show you all the images that we have edited today. So what all we did today was this. So we did a color splash, in the sense one part of your image is black and white and the other part is colored. This is the actual file. We made this as a transparent file, so Ernie is transparent. We also changed the color of the background, made it monochromatic, and then we actually saw a case live how I edited and simplified my workflow. And in the end, I also showed you how to get a transparent background behind any of your subject. And then we also learned how to make collages using Photoscape. Just to summarize, what we have seen so far is this. Okay, so since the time you joined me, I started off with how to import your pictures from your camera to your laptop or a desktop. Don't use camera raw or Wi-Fi for it. Actually do transfer your images using an SD card. So till the time I summarize, if you have any questions, just put it in the chat, so it'll be really easy for me to answer quickly, because we have crossed more than 1.5 hours of the session. So if you have any questions, start putting it in the chat window. After transfer of files, we saw the different softwares. So if you're a Canon user, Canon DPP or Canon Digital Photo Professional. If you're a Nikon user, Capture NXD. But I love to use Adobe, so I use Adobe Bridge for sorting and making collections, and to edit, actually I use Adobe's Camera Raw. You can however use Lightroom, which is almost the same thing. It is actually the same thing in a different package and a different name. So whatever software you use, you can do everything. If you want to do clinical photography editing, you're allowed to do a little bit of brightness adjustments and a little bit of cropping and rotation, but not more than that. If you want to do creative editing, you can do it, but it's not going to get published. Later on, we saw how to sort the pictures based on the file type, that's camera raw versus JPEG. I showed you how to streamline and select the best pictures that are great for your editing, so that you don't regret later on that you selected the wrong image for editing purposes. All right. And then later on, we also, after editing, we saw how to make a collage using Photoscape or Photoscape X, which you can download for free. And then we also saw how to put a watermark, and then we went on to color splash, in which we saw how to keep an image partially black and white and partially colored. You can do it both on RAW as well as JPEG. There are multiple ways of doing it, but I think the RAW is the simplest way. You just select the adjustment brush and remove the colors wherever you want. Even in RAW, I showed you 3 techniques, and in Photoshop also there are a lot of techniques. I showed you one technique of the quick selection tool and stuff like that. I also showed you one technique how to get a transparent background in your pictures. So that is pretty much it about what I had to cover in this particular part, in this particular live session. And in the evening at 6 o'clock, I'm going to be doing an awesome session on how to communicate the shade to your lab effectively by the help of using a gray card, which is going to be again a live demonstration on my editing software. Again, you can do it on any editing software like Canon, Nikon, or Adobe. So do join me at 6 o'clock. We have a special guest coming in today evening. That is Dr. Moez Kakiani, with whom I have written a chapter on shade selection and communication in his textbook called Clinical Fixed Prosthodontics, in which I have also discussed the technique of using the gray card. Why Dr. Moez is coming is to declare the winner of the Choice of Voice contest number 3. If you haven't yet participated in that particular contest, what I can do is I can leave a link of that particular contest on the chat window, so you can still participate on it. Remember that you have to send in your entries latest by 5 p.m. So I have put the link for the Choice of Voice contest. Also, this link also has all the channels where you can listen to my podcast, the Dental Photography School podcast, and the 32-minute podcast. I'll just put it right away. So why I'm putting the 32 minutes link is because today we released an episode called Material Choices in Prosthodontics by Dr. Moez Kakiani, where he has spoken a lot of awesome stuff about how to select the right material for us if you want to use lithium disilicate, that's Emax or zirconia or PFM, when to use for what particular case. All that has been covered in today's podcast episode that was released today morning at 8 o'clock. So do check it out on the link that I have put it in the chat window. So I'll just wait for around 30 seconds if you have any questions. If you do not have any questions, I would probably call it day. And for people who joined us, who are still with me, thank you so much for joining in. It was really nice to have your company. But do check out what I have covered in this episode, and do get back to me if you have any more questions with respect to editing. You can email it to me on dentalphotographyschool@gmail.com, or you can also email on podcast@32minute.com. All right. So yeah, this is the website where you can get your software, where you can download the softwares. And today at 6 p.m. it's not 6:30, it's 6 p.m. Indian Standard Time, how to use a gray card, and a special guest, Dr. Moez Kakiani. And if you want to keep in touch or email me if you have any questions, do check out this particular, you can email me on podcast@32minute.com. All right, so that's all I have time for right now. Thank you so much for joining in. Happy Diwali once again to all of you, and Saal Mubarak if you are a Gujarati, or if you believe this is a new year. So Happy New Year for people who believe in this part of the Happy New Year festivities. So Happy Diwali and Saal Mubarak to all of you. I'll see you at 6 o'clock today evening for how to use a gray card. Thank you so much for joining in, and bye-bye.